Their actions and failure by this school board and administration as a whole to intervene when others defamed and harassed me has emboldened others and enabled escalation of this misconduct. As public officials, you must serve all district constituents, even when they exercise the right to redress grievances against this governing body as guaranteed by the First Amendment. Beyond how appalling your behavior has been against me, your conduct encouraged deplorable behavior against my child. Recently, I shared with you a social media post defaming my child in response to simply sharing my concerns about the district's budget of all things. Last year, I shared with you concern for my child's safety when an anonymous letter was sent to my home with the return address of the Adams County Detention Center and Coroner's Office. With absolutely no legal standing to do so, you could deny my request regarding a photographer's access to the sidelines and other restricted areas where my child is participating in sporting or other school events. Even though I made no attempt to limit access to public areas, nor did I attempt to limit access to restricted areas where my child isn't participating. The only safety protocol after last year was a resource officer here at our school board meetings, which does absolutely nothing to ensure my safety or the safety of my child beyond this boardroom. I have never and would never be malicious or a threat to anyone, and I'm concerned about the unhinged behavior directed at me and my child. If this school board and administration continue to fail to take corrective action, there could be further escalation of the defamation and harassment, or even potentially physical harm against me or my child. You claim to put students first. What about my child? You haven't held each other accountable, but I pray that voters will go to the polls tomorrow and demand the change that it can only come from removing Thompson, Ewan, Yerger, and Ressler from this board.
Thank you. Okay. All right, I need a motion to approve the regular board meeting minutes of April 14th, 2025.
Nick Lovell so moves. Steve Yerger second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I need a motion to approve the curriculum co-curriculum policy meeting of May 6th, 2025.
Nick Lovell so moves.
I need a second.
Second, Lord.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. I need a motion to approve the finance property and supply meeting of May 6th, 2025.
Steve Yerger so moved.
I'm gonna give it to Brian this one.
Give it to him.
You gonna second it?
I'll second.
There we go. Any comments or concerns? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. I need a motion to approve the work session of May 12th, 2025.
Lovell so moves.
Second, Ressler.
Any discussion?
I do.
Okay, what's that?
Under the new business, there's nothing in there what I said after Ms. Ressler spoke. Nothing.
Okay. I don't have it in front of me. And once again, these are not verbatims, they are,
So I just want to say, I didn't know what was going on last week. I couldn't hear a thing with that setup, and I hope we never do that again. So this is going to be the first time I'm hearing this.
Agreed. Those mics
I
are
can't
awful.
remember because I didn't do that.
And it's better when we face each other.
Correct.
New business. Mr. Thompson shared that after adjournment, the board would meet in executive session to discuss real estate. Mrs. Rusted, under administration activity, develop updated approaches to curriculum and activity task force. She also highlighted successes and positive initiatives. We do not have anything from Mr. Sullivan.
What are you saying should be needed to be in
Yeah,
there?
what would be the subject that you would like to add to the minutes, Mr. Sullivan?
Well, the subject I would like to add is that I made a comment about the 1% tax increase in ACTI.
So that was soapbox, I think.
So,
I didn't hear it.
I heard that part.
if we'd be okay about the 1% acting. I mean, with the sound, you did share that the sound was horrible. We acknowledged that the sound was bad. So I think we need to have a little bit of leeway with what's provided.
So if I remember now, I remember a little bit better. You had, your comment was that there's alternatives to dipping into the reserve account, if I remember, just synopsis.
That actually is another one.
Yeah, okay, that's the only thing that I remember.
Oh,
So
and that's what I
where-
wanted to correct too. I'm sorry, Carrie. And I probably shouldn't go into that till we settle the first one, but that was the second one. Thank you, Carl, for bringing that up.
Did he
So
actually say that?
what's the first statement that you would like added, please?
Please verify this.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What's the first statement under new business?
What did you say?
What would you like added?
Only what you
just
said last
I just
week.
wanted to add it in, and I noted that the 1% tax increase wasn't needed.
For
and
what?
That we had a surplus.
Last
year.
Janelle was talking about this school year, not last school year.
Yeah. Well,
But whatever,
it was
just
said in the comment.
For last school year.
Yeah, I don't see any. Yeah, I don't see anything that would. Yeah, see, you were in there for under
Well-
suggested moving funds or pulling from the transportation, so your discussion was already, that one was already set up in the property supply or proposed fund budget.
Not
Because again,
new
these are snippets, not full transcripts. And I don't remember anything at the end after Ms. Ressler spoke, so I think, at this point, I'm gonna call a vote for the minutes as they stand. So-
Well, are you
Okay.
just calling on the one thing?
No, I'm calling it for the work
Okay.
session, the whole thing, as it
All the-
stands, because you're in there for.
Yeah, but I wanted to
both
bring up
comments.
under the finance and property, they wrote, Mr. Saul suggested moving funds or pulling from the transportation fund that's been set aside.
Yes,
We already approved.
That's not correct.
That's how they approved.
He's
it's
talking
already
about-
approved.
Oh, we already did the finance.
Yeah, that was so. 10 minutes
Sorry.
ago.
Sorry.
No.
I'm
All
sorry.
right, we're on the work session.
Wait, could I please ask a clarifying question?
Nothing's changed.
I know. Mr. Sullivan, when you're talking about the finance property portion, are you talking in the work session minutes under finance property and supplies? Is
Yes.
that where you're referencing? So we have not approved those yet. What would you like to be added?
That's what it says Mr. Saul suggested moving funds or pulling from the transportation, but it says just moving funds. Now, I suggested, like Carl said, the 3.2 million be pulled back out.
Right, again, for the fourth time, and this is where we're gonna stop this, because this is synopsis. This is not a transcription of everything. We
That's
don't
kind
do
of
that. That's why
important.
this is minutes, and this is not transcription. It is a picture of quick things. We don't, that's why they're called minutes. They're not a transcription. If you want the transcription, you have to listen to the recordings. So that's what this is supposed to be. So if somebody wants to further hear that, then they would then go pull up the recording. Sometimes they're not as great and elaborate. And if you would like to.
Well, that one's special.
If you wanna increase the
I mean,
budget.
it was.
You wanna increase
That
the
was
budget
really
by,
bad.
You know, like 2% to cover, recording devices, I think Tom would greatly appreciate that. But yeah, that's the way this is supposed to work. So we're not changing anything at this point. Because everything is noted because it's a snapshot.
I would like to make a Sunshine Act challenge.
Okay, go ahead, make your comments.
I have not seen the minutes, but I would like to make sure that there's no viewpoint discrimination, since you're not adding Mr. Sullivan's comments. Did you add the extensive grandstanding by Mrs. Ressler at the end of the meeting? I mean, that would be viewpoint discrimination and a violation of the Sunshine Act and First Amendment.
I didn't think Sharon Dax was grandstanding.
Oh, just Sullivan's facts for grandstanding.
What's, yeah, come on.
Vice Counsel, minutes to reflect accurately, and there is, to the best of the knowledge, there is no violation in there. So, and we can move on.
It doesn't list out out everything she just said, which says that she listed successes.
Right.
Doesn't list everything she said.
Right.
But it listed nothing Sullivan said. That's viewpoint discrimination.
We're gonna, okay,
It did.
Okay, at this point, we're voting. All those in favor of taking the minutes as they are, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, motion carries. All right. Okay, Steve, you're up.
Okay, Finance, Property and Supply Committee report. If anybody has any questions on item A or O, please request a letter to be pulled and voted on separately. If not, we would recommend approval of items A to O. I am going to read A, B, and C.
Steve, I'd like to have C pulled.
Okay.
Oh, you can.
We're pulling all of them.
I didn't hear
We're
you.
pulling A, B, and C because
Okay.
they're fresh.
Thank you.
Okay. Recommend approval.
Well, wait a minute. Are you still asking for things to be pulled?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I would like to pull E, G, I, and J.
Okay. So,
I mean, E should definitely be pulled, don't you all think?
Well, we discussed it last.
That would be a roll call vote.
We discussed everything last year.
It's on the phone.
That's one reason
Oh,
for pulling
okay,
it.
okay.
It's a proposed.
That's a proposed.
all right,
It's not deep.
so, with that name mentioned, I recommend with approval for D, F, H, K, L, M, N, O.
All right, I have a motion on the table to approve D, F, H, K, L, M, N, and O. Do I have a second?
Second.
We've had, is there any outside discussion that we haven't already had? Hearing none, all those
Oh,
in favor?
Carl, I did. On ACTI, I know I didn't pull it, I didn't want to pull it. I noted that this budget was thrown together pretty quickly. I don't know if Brian explained that at the last meeting as to why.
It was not, we went through the regular budget process.
Oh, you did? Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
We did.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
we
that's
did.
good.
Yep.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Nothing changed from prior years.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Okay, thanks. That's
All
good.
those in favor of those letters signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. A, recommend approval for donate kitchen equipment to the Alpha Fire Company, one refrigerator and 18 floor mats. This item is in reference to policy 909, municipal government relations. This situation is LASD is disposing of antiquated and outdated equipment, and in the spirit of maintaining a close and harmonious relationship with Alpha Fire Company, the board is donating these items that are in excess of 25 years old and maintain some value to the fire company. It has been a practice of this district to offer items of benefit to local government organizations prior to disposal. This helps ensure policy 909 is adhered to.
I have a motion on the floor to approve the donation of the kitchen equipment to the Alpha Fire Company. Do I have a second?
Second, Wrestler.
Thank you. Does anybody have any discussion on this? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Recommended renewal of the Interstate Facility Services Agreement. This item is in reference to the board priority to providing safe and clean facilities for students and staff. This is a renewal of our current agreement with a 2% increase in cost. The district is pleased with the service provided and a 2% increase. This increase does not require a bid, and if a bid could pose further complications.
Okay. I've got a motion on the floor to recommend approval of Interstate Facility Service Agreement. Do I have a second?
Second.
No seconds. Is there any discussion on this?
Yes. So 2% increase, how many years is this agreement?
1 year.
service. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Noes? Motion carries.
Recommend approval of the transportation agreement with Chris Transportation beginning of the 25-26 school year and ending in 2020-31-2032 school year. This item is in reference to policy 810, transportation. The situation is that we have experienced a decrease in bus van drivers without replacement. This has forced the district to contract multiple single bus runs for each run we're able to fill. The RFP was approved by the board in April, which bids from 2 vendors received. These bids were evaluated for price, quality, and service, and training programs for drivers. Though meetings with the administration, our current drivers have been kept appraised of the possibility of change. They have asked great questions which bring to remain driving for the district. While the resale of our current fleet and 7-year agreement, the district looks to be very close to a net neutral in this bid, using dollars earmarked for transportation from the general fund to offset any cost to the district. Are there any questions?
Yes. I have a couple. Page 3, on our paper that we have, or page we have. If a vehicle is eliminated, oh, this is Tom, Tim, or if the route's no longer needed, then the school, it looks to me like the school's gonna have to pay a 35% of the rate. Included in that, 7 years is a long time, and we know that the attendance can change, it can fluctuate. So it could change the need for number 8. We need buses or vans. And then also, what about addressing the routes, which is the buses and the vans, if we need to, like adding additional, are we able to do that, are we not able to do that? I mean, the 35% increase, I think, is a little, it's very steep. 7 years, that's a really long contract. That was on page 3. On page 12, under the last year of the contract, it says about requiring the contractor 90 days. That just doesn't seem like enough time if we need to look at bus routes or additional changes. Perhaps 120. And then at the end too, where it's missing the word "and," there's nothing filled in there. Where it says, let me look here, page 12.
I'll take the last year of the contract for 90 days. First of all, if it's the last year of the contract, which that comes under the 90 days, I'm sure it should be the practice of any board, whether it's this one or anybody, if it's the last year, that man over there, whoever's in that spot, will already have an RFP out for new contracts anyway. So 90 days is just a standard. So so.
And that's gonna give us enough time if we need to change.
Well, remember, you're already going to have an RFP out there.
We're gonna start that before.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're going to already have that working because you know that the eventual contract is going to
Okay.
end. So that you'll want to put it out to see what everybody's going to go for anyway, whether they're
Okay.
going to be higher or lower. So as far as that one goes, I'm still waiting for the other comment that you were saying and it's something else.
Well, it looks like, did we change companies that I think we were gonna outsource to?
No, I think Chris is all.
It's been Price, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
we currently use Price Transportation and Lincoln.
Yeah, so we have multiple avenues of the transportation's kind of split. So I'll just start with the first question here on page 3 with the vehicles, and we'll kind of go down through your questions. So the vehicles on page 3, that I'm assuming you're referencing the 18 vehicles that are listed.
Yes.
So we did have a discussion with this as the contract negotiations. So if the scenario of school, we would have reduction of students, we can reallocate students among the vehicles, so we wouldn't reduce a vehicle, because obviously vehicles have a capacity limit, we can work around that to keep that, to avoid that 35%. This would be as if we had a.
So we can change routes.
Correct. We,
Okay.
as a district, are in charge of those routes, and we can manage those routes, and we can change those to accommodate any vehicle that's up. And if we would just work those around so that we wouldn't lose a vehicle, we would just change students' routes to optimize that. So that was was addressed, that concern.
So we wouldn't have to pay the 35%.
Correct, unless we would
Okay.
have above and beyond reductions, that would be something that we could
Okay.
be anticipate.
What's the point of this clause being in there?
The contractor would want to keep a minimum number of vehicles available for us, so they need at least a set amount to have aside, so it's not fluctuated every year, so they have dedicated vehicles for Littlestown. That was kind of the semblance of it. So they can say, we have these 18 vehicles that are Littlestown, they're badged to us, they're assigned to the drivers, and then we can change the routes to fit the number of students to keep those vehicles active.
So we pay them 35% of what?
Only if we would reduce the number of vehicles below 18.
So if we reduce, say we reduced it down to 70.
They're not going to,
But-
because they're gonna.
Then why, then why are we even putting that in there?
But the fact is, that why are we gonna so you're, by saying reallocating the number of students, so that would mean we're decreasing the number of students on the bus and potentially paying for more busing than what we need.
But then if enrollments go back up and we need all those buses, I mean, we don't.
Well,
know
but
what's-
they're offering no flexibility to us, to make
This
this
is
as a
just-
7-year contract.
Well, this is a floor. If we would go above and beyond, they would add vehicles right back in. This is essentially establishing the minimum number of vehicles as a baseline. So I think it's reasonably flexible in that.
It provides an assurance to the bus company that they're going to be able to provide service to us and that we're not going to fluctuate and decrease and make it not worth their while. So as we go, it gives us the opportunity to be able to handle an increase in enrollment. It also gives us the opportunity to handle any ownership over routes, the division of how we put students on those buses. So it would, if we get to the spot, Mr. Lovell, where we're actually putting only 10 students on a school bus, we're in some dire straits at that point. So it would not get to that point.
If we, so if we add, can we subtract from what we added, like the number of?
Correct, this
It
is the
exceeds the
floor.
minimum, we can always
Correct.
add and remove this,
This
as
is
long as we don't go
How many
below
buses do
18.
we run now?
How many buses do we have? 12, 13?
So we have, I believe it is 11 routes, and we would have a few spares that would be requested. So I think it would be 3 spares, so about 14. So 11 routes, you can see 11 buses would be the routes, and then 6 vans is the routes we had as a minimum. That's why we mirrored the contract to reflect that, for our current routing.
So that's for our current capacity, not allotting for the fact that our enrollment is currently lower.
I believe that was addressed.
Yeah.
We can change the
Yeah.
routes for any
Our
minor
enrollment
decline.
is declining, but not at a rapid rate. Our enrollment is basically level with a small. And we've looked at that.
This is 7 years.
Correct.
That's a long time.
It is.
And we could, I mean, look how much it's gone down even since 2020.
Mhm.
Is there any flexibility in that time, from 7 to 5 or something, or is that completely changed the contract numbers and they would come back with a completely different one?
That, I mean, actually, that would be something I'd think back to the contractor to see how.
Just a question, so it wasn't.
When does this have to be, signed? I mean, were they giving us time to,
Well,
if we don't approve it tonight?
If we don't approve it tonight, we should most likely approve it by June so that we have time to be able to make a transition if the board approves.
I'd like to see some fluctuating with, I mean, I don't know, the 35%. Just not paying that.
And I'd like the floor to be lower, so that we have more flexibility.
Well, yeah.
And this is just, routes before and after school, it isn't all the other stuff like sports and stuff?
Correct.
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 And we haven't even gotten to the fact that they only give us year 1 pricing.
No, they do, it's at a factor at the bottom, it's between 2.5 to
Yeah,
4.5
2.5 to 4.5.
with CPI.
That's a lot of money.
Well,
Yeah.
that's a significant gap.
The,
And
I would say the competitor had a very identical scenario, so that is a typical contract from a busing standpoint in this day and age.
so why don't they lock in their what their rate increase?
Because of the CPI percentage variability.
Because they're gonna get the subsidy from the state for the bus, how its age, Now, they are adding cameras,
Yep.
forward and reversing, which is an awesome thing.
So the fuel cost you're saying is built into this?
So, yes, we are maintaining the fuel on site, and they are reimbursing us that cost of the fuel.
What, with the total overall pricing, how does it compare to what we currently budget for transportation? Because we talked about that in finance.
So right now, without any sale of the vehicle, it's estimated about $47,000 increase compared to what our current budget holds. So we don't anticipate with the vehicles will sell, because some of them might have some high age. So they will be very variable what they can and can't sell at a public auction or private sale. So I can't estimate that's gonna recoup, but right now, we believe it will get almost all of it.
But the $47,000 increase, that's a recurring expense, the vehicle sale is a one-time.
Correct, and then the following year, we will get increased subsidy from the state that will help offset that in future years. So the state does award higher percentage multipliers for contracted services rather than in-house services.
Do we know what that fee is?
So we're estimating at about $23,000 every out year after that. And then it does go up about the mileage and the number of students and a lot of different variable criteria we can route around to try to maximize that. That's something we do currently, and we're currently working with the vendor to continue to come to practice.
And how does this affect our drivers?
Well, we've sat down, both Tom and I have sat down with the drivers and had some really good conversations. They have great questions. We've let them know that we really honored their time. And one of the things that we put into bid here is that Price would interview and likely take every single driver that wishes to remain at Littlestown.
What do you mean likely?
Yeah, you
Why
said
say
likely,
likely?
that's kind of scary.
Yeah, I don't like the likely.
I would say it's up to them.
I say likely because it's up to the individual.
It's up to them.
It's up to them.
Okay.
They have the right of first refusal,
Okay.
not the other way around.
Yeah.
That's why I say likely.
And is this something that, our drivers, like, as long as this contract is, will always, so if it's for 7 years, our drivers get first dibs on their route?
Our drivers would be hired by Christ to run our students and run the buses here in our district. And each year, they would be able to gain unemployment over the summer, which they can't do now, and return back to us and continue to be drivers for Littlestown as long as they wish. And as long as they maintain the driving that we see now and the quality interactions with our students, there should be no reason that Price would ever want to terminate their contract with them or their employment. So being a great quality employee means you continue doing what you're doing until you say that you don't want to do it.
What about disciplining on the bus? Is that gonna still go through us, or?
That stays here with the districts.
But there's more video cameras too.
Correct. Price is actually adding 2 cameras in addition to the one that we already have on to be on at their cost, yes.
And it'll be 4 on buses, and 4 additional on the buses, and then 2 additional on the vans.
I was just wondering if we could table this until next month, because, I mean, this was last minute, this is a lot to digest. For a board member, 48 hours. I mean, I know a lot of people have concerns, and I know I do. Is this, good.